So my name is Tia Gamlin. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. I was born and raised in Plant City, Florida on a farm, about 10 acres, where my sister and I used to ride horses and pick oranges and eat them on horseback. And I spent my days running around, probably like a feral child in the woods, making bridges over creek beds and trying to fish with a rock on the end of a stick. Anyway, my life led me down the road of becoming an employee at the YMCA in Brandon, Florida, teaching gymnastics and being a camp counselor. Probably the best first job a kid could have, because all I did all day long was play. And when I was in gymnastics, I was really teaching kids how to play with purpose, to be able to perform gymnastics activities. And then I became a team coach, and that was some of the best times of my life. What I learned about myself when I was working at the YMCA there in Central Florida was that I loved working with kids. It was so much fun to play with kids and teach them new skills and new things to do, and then just to play with them. Where else can you be in the world where you can put carrots up your nose and blow them halfway across the room and get a huge response of laughter? Only from kids, only from playing with kids. Or stick a straw in your armpit and be able to blow fart noises out of it and get like the biggest laughs that you could ever get. So I knew that I wanted to work with kids. Maybe not necessarily to blow carrots across the room and make fart noises with my armpit and a straw, but because it was so much fun to be able to say that this was my job. And so the day came when I was teaching gymnastics, where I had my first preschool class with children who had Down syndrome. And I realized that I could affect the lives of these kiddos that I was working with in a positive way. And I learned about the profession of occupational therapy, and I began to pursue that path in my life. I went to university at a small liberal arts college in Hickory, North Carolina, called Lenoir-Rhyne. It's right between Charlotte and Asheville. And while I was there, we were the first graduating class of occupational therapists from Lenoir-Rhyne back in the 1900s. And while I was there, I started the student organization for OTs, and I was the president there because I'm always looking to make change and to organize. And that's kind of my personality, and continued that kind of drive all the way through my career until now, and starting Core Play. After spending some time in Columbia, South Carolina, our family moved to Norfolk, Virginia. And while we were in Norfolk, Virginia, I worked at the Children's Hospital, the King's Daughters there. And I loved working there. We had such a great community of therapists that worked together, and doctors. And I was the lead therapist for the Neurodevelopmental Center serial casting clinic and splinting clinic. So I worked with a lot of neurodiverse children there, but also children with significant trauma as well. And then after we lived in Virginia for a while, our family moved up to Columbus, Ohio. And it was at this point I was a mom of 3 boys under the age of 4. Now that all didn't happen at once, but over a period of a few years, I had lots of babies. And so anyways, while we worked there, while I lived there, I worked at a clinic that specialized in sensory processing disorder. And because that was my jam, it was a really good fit for me during that time. And I was able to continue to do that community outreach and educate different kinds of organizations like church preschools, secular preschools, moms groups, and things like that. It was also during this time that I was asked to speak to the Ohio Association of Occupational Therapists about sensory processing disorder. And then our family moved back to Columbia, South Carolina. And it was during that time that I started the stand-up paddleboarding team for Special Olympics. We were the second state in the country to have stand-up paddleboarding as a Special Olympic sport. And our athletes actually ended up going on to winning gold at the National Games in Washington State. And I think, was it 2018? And so that was a huge honor. But the best thing about that was we had such a great community involvement for our team, the Paddling Pirates. After we spent some time there in Columbia, South Carolina again, our family of 6 now, because I had had another baby in there, a little girl, decided it was time for us to move to Germany. And so we ended up moving to Germany, and I had the pleasure and opportunity to work for the United States government and the Army, working on the Army base there, serving our soldiers' families who had children with special needs. And so after we lived in Germany for a while, it was time to move back to the United States, and we have settled here in Littleton, Colorado. Now here in Littleton, I've spent some time working as a therapy camp director and back in the school system while I've been here. And it's also been during this time that I've started a nature-based therapy practice and looking at a broader reach to help parents and caregivers just like you to help them be able to play with purpose with their young child, understanding developmental milestones and why they're so important to their child when they become a senior high school student, and why all of that starts in these first few years of life. That's a lot of information. I talked a lot faster. That's 5 minutes. You see, in all these experiences I've had in Florida, in South Carolina, in Virginia, in Ohio, in Germany, and here now in Colorado, I've worked with thousands of children and thousands of families and early childhood professionals and teachers and caregivers and doctors and nurses. And what I want more than anything in the world is to be out of a job, is to not have to see children because they have developmental delays or disabilities. It would be the best gift that anybody could ever give me. But that's not the world we live in. And the only thing that we can do is be proactive in how we help other people and how we are helping people become strong parents, confident, who are confident and capable of helping their children move through the steps and sequences of their child's development, and also understand why it's so important for lifelong learning. I developed Core Play because I love working with kids and I love working with families. It's been the joy of my life to have the opportunity to work with so many amazing families and therapists and folks in all the different places from all the different backgrounds that we've lived in. As you start your journey along the Core Play way, I am thrilled to death to be walking this journey with you, this success path that starts in play attention and ends with playing with purpose. Thank you so much for trusting me to be a part of this journey with you and your family.